Lose the opener to the Dodgers, the first matchup between these two teams in the regular season on June 9th. I don't know why it took that long. The schedule this year isn't that great, but it is what it is. And this final score is not accurate, by the way. It says 8-6. It was 8-7. Merrill, that ball, that double, that made it 8-7. But the Padres, as frustrating of an ending as that was, where the home plate umpire, F's up the Manny strike three call because it wasn't a strike. I'm watching the replay right now, and that pitch is nowhere near the strike zone. The full circle is out of the strike zone. What I love, though, was the ump cam. He literally had an ump cam on him. And they showed, and it was for the Padres broadcast. Maybe it was for the Dodgers too, but I wasn't watching that, obviously. And they showed Manny Machado cursing out, I think it was Mike Estabrook was his name, and Schilt gets in there. But like, it was awesome because I've never seen that before. To see a POV of an umpire getting cursed out by a player, and it's Manny, not just some, Joe Schmo, but to get cursed out by a superstar like that, and you get to see what it looks like. That's pretty funny. And how close Manny gets to him, because it starts out as, Manny, he's pissed, but then he goes right at him, and you can't even see Manny now in the picture. It's just his helmet that you can see. Like, he got up in his grill, so that was hilarious. But it was not hilarious, seeing him F up that call, because Arise was on second base. If that pitch is a ball and correctly called, who knows what happens after that, right? That's an out instead of possibly Manny reaching base. I forget the count in that situation, but yeah, just it sucks. But at the same time, like, I don't feel that bad about it. No, I'm not trying to excuse an umpire's call, but like, come on. The Padres, they fell apart there in extra innings. They fell apart in the 10th inning. And actually more in the bottom of the ninth too. Luis Ariz, who does these statue takes all of the time. First pitch, he'll just watch it go by, right? You got Tatis, who was on first base. He's going to steal. And Kirby Yates threw over there once already. He wasn't going to waste. He wasn't going to use it again. He probably wanted to use it later in the at-bat. And so Tatis goes. He has second base stolen, and Ariz swing. And it was a pitch that was pretty much right down the middle. But still, if you're Luis Ariz there, you have to be smarter than that. It is a tie game. That's the game-winning run there. And instead of taking it, and now you have a runner in scoring position for you, the hit machine, the sprinkler, instead you swing at the pitch. And I know, I think it was last homestand, the Sunday game, right, where the hit and run worked, where Tatis was on first base, ball down the line. But what are the odds of that happening again, right? I guess the Padres, they wanted to send Tatis, and Ariz finds a gap, and they can win there. But, like, Luis Ariz, for me, if I'm Mike Schilt, I don't want Luis Ariz swinging there. I want take the chance with Tatis, steal second base, and then your chances of winning there increase more than getting Tatis to score from first base when you have Ariz up at the plate, in my opinion. I don't know what the numbers say, because there's probably some probability there, but to me, that just seems like common sense. Like, Tatis has second base. You can see that. Why are you swinging? First pitch, why are you swinging? I just don't understand that. Like, Luis Ariz, I feel like he's smarter than that, but not in that situation. And then in extra innings, Brandon Lockridge, what kind of route was that? That was like someone that, just started playing the outfield, and that's not who Brandon Lockridge is. Just goes straight at a ball instead of going back and the ball goes over his head. That was the first run that scored. And then unlucky, of course, ball hits off second base and goes into the outfield. Sure, they got the force out at second base later in the inning, but just looks stupid with Crony going over to second base to get to be the force out there for Xander to flip it over to him, and Manny's there, and kind of looked like a little league team there. So they just fell apart there late in that game. And do I give credit to them for coming back, because they were down 3-1? Yeah. I was not did anyone have Tyler Wade coming through with a bases clearing triple in this game or in this series at all, or the entire season? No. But hey, that happened. So, props to him. But to me, I just can't get over how disappointing that was at the end of this game. how Arise swings at that pitch, how Lockridge takes a crappy route to that ball, how the home plate umpire inconsistency. I mean, was it the Padre? It was either I forget who was exactly hitting, but it was earlier in the inning a pitch called. It was Yates, I believe, that was pitching, and it was strike three. I think the first was the first batter that he faced. Let me double check that real quick. I think it was the first batter that he faced. He struck him out. I think it was the ninth inning. Yeah, struck out Lockridge, struck him out looking on a pitch that was dotted, like great pitch. But then later in the inning, that pitch is called a ball, or it was either later that inning or it was the Padres were pitching next. And it's all right. You got inconsistency. Then man, that's a ball. Was that in that situation? I mean, regardless, like who knows what would have happened? No, okay. So that was ball four because there was a 3-2 count. Yeah, that's right. And then strike three, and it's like that's not a strike. This strike zone here, though, see, that shows that it barely hits the zone, but then there was a different zone on TV. I trust that Manny knows the strike zone pretty darn well. So, yeah, I mean, 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position, like that's frustrating as well. But yeah, when you have the bat not even taken out of your hands because like that's ball four, so the bat's taken out of your hands already, like you're going to first. But that's an extra base runner, and then Jackson Merrill doubles, and who knows what would have happened. Manny's at least at third base, and that's one less out. So now Merrill, sure he doubled, but then earlier in the at bat, like he swung at a pitch that was like at his head. So just some of the not best swing selection today. And Merrill he's chasing Kevin Acey in his Padres Daily today about Jackson and swinging at like 45% of pitches that were not strikes recently, something like that. Um, and that's not who Jackson is, but he's saying he's not seeing the ball great. He's late and he's chasing. So I'm hoping that he gets out of it here. Like that would be great to get out of it. Him and Nando to have a breakout last couple of games here in this series. What's going to be interesting is the bullpen coming up because today they used everyone in the bullpen except Jason Adam, who was never going to pitch today, obviously, because that would be 3 days in a row. And if you pitch him today, then he's not pitching, obviously, the rest of the series. But you don't pitch him today, and now he'd be available for the last two games of the series. Um, excuse me, David Morgan didn't pitch either, but Adam and Morgan. But Suarez probably unavailable tomorrow. He would be on his third consecutive day. Matsu would be on his third consecutive day. Wandy only threw one pitch yesterday, so he could go. Sean Reynolds would be on his third consecutive day. So how are they going to do this without those guys? You'd love to have a great start. I think Cease is going tomorrow. You'd like to have a great start there from him so that you don't have to go to other guys other than Morahone, Estrada, Suarez. But you can't count on that. Cease, it's been frustrating. He's been inconsistent. It's still TBD for the Dodgers, and TBD is probably going to be nasty tomorrow. Heard he has a nasty breaking ball. Speaking of some breaking balls, I mean, Nick Pivetta was hanging some today. Dustin May a little bit too. But yeah, Pivetta was part of the reason. I don't want to make this I don't want to just be blaming guys late in this game. Pivetta only goes 4 innings. Like, that's unacceptable from a guy that's been one of the best pitchers for the Padres this year. He's like one of the aces in this rotation, the way he's been pitching. But a couple of walks, 8 hits. I know the Dodgers, like they have really good hitters. And some of these pitches weren't even strikes that these Dodger hitters were hitting and taking advantage of. But still, like when you hang them, even if they're not strikes, these Dodger hitters can still whack it, obviously. It was pretty much from the get-go. Otani with the double, Freddie with the double to make it 1-0. Yeah, it was just going to be a long day. The Will Smith home run, I mean, talk about a hanger. So this was not a great time to have one of those outlier outings. And this was what it was. Like, that's the good news. This isn't like a consistent thing from Pavetta, but when you're facing the Dodgers, you'd like to not have that outlier. But I was not expecting an 8-7 game. Like that's that's baseball, you know? I don't know what the over under was, but the Padres, their last like 16 games, I want to say, something like that, 6 of their last 16. Kevin Acee said that as well in his Padres Daily about how the Padres have scored 3 or less runs in like 6 of their last, or excuse me, they scored like more than 3 runs, I want to say, in like 6 of their last 16, something like that. So they just haven't been scoring runs. They break out for 7 and they lose the game. Like that's super frustrating. So obviously Pavetta's not going to be happy, and there should be a lot of guys that aren't happy. Brandon Lockridge, Manny obviously with the umpire there at the end. Um, Arise probably is not happy with himself right now. So yeah, sucks. Sure, there's going to be a lot of Dodger fans watching this video because they have nothing else better to do. They can't go watch, one of their fan shows, but maybe their shows just aren't good. I don't know, but yeah, hopefully they can win the series. But that sucked.